Dom, thank you very much for not just being here, but taking on the chair of the International Integrated Reporting Council. Why have you chosen to do it?
Well, thank you, Richard. First I'd say it's a great honor to do this, to be part of this movement that's been underway. And I think there are huge fills, which I'll never be able to fill, of Mervyn King, who really has played such a fundamental role in driving this forward. But I think integrated reporting is an essential part of doing good business. It is essential. And in today's world where there is less trust in business, and actually business needs to do even more to deal with all of the changes we're facing in society, being able to account for the resources, the capitals that we use to be able to do it is essential for us to be able to deliver value and be trusted in society.
We live in times where values, purpose are crucial to business. We often hear about cause-driven activity by business, and integrated reporting itself, some would call it a mission. Do you see that, and what would be the mission as you would describe it?
I mean, I very much see it as a mission, and it's a movement. I think you've described it that way. Mervyn has, Charles and others. And I think it's essential, again, when we think about why is business here, it's not just about profitability. That's an important element of it, and shareholder value, but there is a broader set of roles that businesses have. And I think it's important to remind ourselves of that. And I think in the last 30 years or so in capitalism, we've lost sight of that, of the purpose of business. And make no bones about it, it is to make profit. It is to help advance shareholder value, but it's a broader purpose that we need to look at. And so I do think this is it's a mission. And I think it's very, very important at this time when we see all of these changes underway in society, trust levels dropping in different parts, and yet an even bigger need, I think, for business to help solve and address some of the challenges that we have.
You come to us at a very exciting moment when we're going to be announcing, simultaneous with you taking up the chair, a new global strategic phase for the IIRC and integrated reporting, the momentum phase. And when you look to build on how far we've got so far in terms of the next stage, what are your personal goals that you hope to achieve by becoming the chair?
Well, a key element is obviously supporting what the excellent team has already been driving, and I think, you know, I really like that momentum phase phrase that you're using, because I think there is a lot of momentum. How do we keep that moving? But more specifically, a couple of things I would like to lean in on. One is there are many different initiatives underway trying to look at similar aspects to integrated reporting. The Focusing Capital Long-Term Initiative is something I've been involved in for a number of years. There's the Embankment project that's going on. There's a range of these that are all good, but I think it would be even more powerful if we could somehow make them more cohesive, aligned. It doesn't mean they're doing exactly the same thing, but how can we harness that? Because right now we've got a whole bunch of different things, and I think that can be confusing for the businesses, like which model do I use? And so trying to get a little more cohesion, and how maybe there's a role we can play in trying to be able to do that, because I think we all have actually quite a common purpose, but different ways of saying it. So make that less confusing. The second is, you know, really pushing in a heat map type of way, you know, where are the biggest opportunities in terms of publicly listed private companies by geography? Where do we need to, you know, focus, and where could I help in pushing it? And probably the third aspect is I'd love to figure out ways that we can, again, because we're a small organization, how do we leverage others to be able to drive this forward, whether it be in key investor groups or regulators, you know, the various different stakeholders that we have. Is there an 80-20 that we could get a couple to bring others on, just from relationships that I've had before in my career? So I'd like to leverage that as much as I can.
Our aim is to make integrated reporting and thinking the global norm. So fantastic success so far, 1,600 companies in 67 different countries. But we want it to be 100%. What about all those companies for whom they're not today aware of integrated reporting and we want them to take the first step? How, in your own words, would you describe integrated reporting?
At the heart of integrated reporting is value creation. It's how companies create value and what resources they use to create value. So I think it's very simply describing to businesses, this is going to help you create more value and understand the resources that you need to be able to do it, both over the short term and the long term. And I think we need to make it simple and have some reference cases by sector that people can see and how it actually has helped them improve their business. There's one example has been used of just in one particular element of integrated reporting, which is on the human capital side. SAP will articulate that 1 percentage point improvement in employee engagement leads to a 35 to 40 million euro improvement in profit. The integrated reporting helps them understand how to create more value and account for it. So this isn't just about reporting, it's about creating value. That's what it's here for. It's not meant to be some bureaucratic, regulatory type of a thing. It's about how to create value and think about all the proper inputs for that. And today's approach before integrated reporting has been too narrow.
And we've got to know each other pretty well over the last year. And what has struck me is that although some of the elements of the framework or who's on the council you've been learning and absorbing, the principles behind it, the move to long-termism, the importance of values, of rebuilding trust, the importance of strategy, these are things that you've been working on for years and that you're going to bring to us. Well, when you look back over all of your years with McKinsey, what do you think you will bring from that experience into these debates?
Well, I hope to bring a number of things. One is that, I've spent 32 years of my life basically trying to help companies improve their value creation performance. That's in all sorts of different sectors in all sorts of different countries. And so I come at it very much from value creation. It isn't just reporting, if you will. So that's the bias, and I think that many CEOs and people we work with, they know that's where we're coming from. And I think that this integrated reporting is a wonderful way of being able to enable companies to do that. A second aspect I would hope to bring is that we work with investors, companies, we work with employees, we're working with all different elements of the value chain and the different stakeholders. And from the experience in that, we have a pretty good view about what makes people tick in those areas. And I hope that that's something that we can bring to this as well when we think about the principles that need to be involved.
At the IIRC, we always say not integrated reporting, not reporting as an end in itself, but integrated reporting and integrated thinking, feeding into strategy, into board considerations, and into long-term business success. How important is integrated thinking as part of this for you?
Well, I think the integrated thinking is the basis for the integrated reporting, and integrated reporting hopefully enables more integrated thinking, because I think there's too much of a silo mentality in most organizations, including in McKinsey. You know your particular area, and I don't think we think about it holistically enough. And so for me, the thinking is bringing all the different elements together to how we create value in what we do. And I think what I also like about integrated thinking is it's not checklists and box ticking. It's a way of doing business. We're not here to try and we're not doing reports for the sake of reports. We're doing reports hopefully enable the thinking. So I'm repeating myself, but thinking is the essence of it. And the reports are a tool. in my view, for that.
So changing the way businesses think, business behaviour, business culture is very much part of what we're in the game for, and that's very ambitious. Probably even more ambitious is our aim to change, to reshape the corporate reporting system of the world.
Yeah.
Is it possible for us to do that systems thinking and to genuinely be able to achieve our aim?
I think it is, but it's an incredibly ambitious ambition, I might say, to move to one reporting system. But I think it's doable, but I think in thinking it's doable, we have to focus on the principles of what it is that we're doing, not focus so much on the minutiae of the detail. It's the principles. And I think there's a lot of momentum in the world today on the principles of integrated reporting. People may use different language for it, but the forces are there. We're seeing it from regulators more and more that want to see a much more integrated approach to the way of thinking, accounting for many of the different capitals or resources that we use. We're seeing it from investors. Long-term investors are pushing very hard for these, and companies listen to their investors or they won't be around for very long. And more companies I think there's great role models of companies talking about the purpose that they have and how this all works together, and society in general. So I think it is very ambitious, but if we focus on the principles of it, the big themes, not get bogged down into the minutiae of exactly what a report looks like, and leverage all of those forces which are moving in the right direction for this, I think we can get there. I feel very confident.
In the answer, you were talking about the importance of investors and long-term investors. And investors have been involved in the IIRC right from the beginning and essentially making the case this is about better risk management and securing better long-term returns. We've got much closer to McKinsey through the initiative for focusing capital for the long term. And I know that was one of the first times you personally got closer to the concept of integrated reporting. I wonder if you could share that story with us.
Sure. I became sort of seriously involved in this about 9 years ago. Actually in the first year when I was managing partner at McKinsey. Part of what I do is I have a rule of seeing 2 CEOs a day, which I did every day for 9 years. And in the first year, I was shocked actually at how short-term focused many CEOs were. Not all, but many. They were feeling the pressures of quarterly earnings, targets. They were worried about activist investors. They weren't making the long-term investments, R&D, talent, reputation that they'd like to, and it shocked me. And as I dug more into the space, this is not how it used to be. And there's over the last 30 years, I think the business has become much more short-term oriented. Just lots of pressures that are on there. And so I felt that we had to do something about that. We can't just accept that. We should be raising our voices about that. And that's when I got very focused on this notion of we've got to get companies to focus and CEOs much more on the long term, focusing capital in the long term. And through that work, I ran right into the integrated reporting movement because it completely clicks with that. It's thinking again about sustainability of organizations over time, how you create value, how you account for all your resources that you use, not just the narrow financial resources. So there was it was not a combining of forces, but a cohesion that was there. And I found that a lot of the tools and metrics that are implicit in integrated reporting help companies and CEOs act and behave more long-term in what they're doing. And that's something that's essential for the success of companies, and it's essential for I think the success of how our world works and what we do. So that's how I got involved.
One more question, which I hope you won't find impertinent, but we see you as someone who brings a wealth of experience and knowledge. I know you won't agree with me, but we regard you as the leading thinker on business strategy in the world and what you're going to to bring in terms of that knowledge and experience to us, we're profoundly grateful for. But you're also at a crucial moment in your own personal life, and moving on from McKinsey, starting a whole fresh chapter in your life. So many people know you and have met and worked with you around the world. How do you feel about where you're at personally and where you will come in terms of your work with us?
Oh, well, thank you for the question. I definitely don't think I'm the leading strategy thinker, but I would say it is a inflection point for me, because I've been doing this work at McKinsey for 32 years. I'm in the, I guess, in the mindset of I want to make sure I focus on meaningful things. It's that phase of my life where I don't need to do things. I'm not running for office. But I want to make a difference. And so you get a little more selective and maybe courageous about what you want to do that's going to make what you think will make a difference, because I don't have very many more S-curves to be moving on here. And so I'm really excited to be part of the whole integrated reporting movement, because I think that this movement is going to change how business works, and I can't think of a more profound thing to work on. And I think that changing reporting, with all the caveats and the way we've talked about not getting too focused on minutia, but changing reporting, the metrics, I just firmly believe is what's going to really change how business works, and therefore the impact that business can have on society. This is a jugular institution to be able to do that. And so I'm really excited to do it, and it's something I feel very personally passionate about. It's the first thing I decided I wanted to do when I thought about what I wanted to do next, because it's very important to me.
Dom, we share your passion. You share our passion. Thank you for coming on board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.